26-year-old Alexis Sharkey and her husband Tom Sharkey moved to Houston, Texas in January of 2020. Alexis was active on social media and had significant followings on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. After spending Thanksgiving with friends, Alexis sent text messages to her friends on Friday, November 27th at around 6 p.m. That would be the last time they would hear from her. On Saturday, November 28th, after not being able to get a hold of her, friends went and knocked on her apartment door. After receiving no answer at the apartment, they filed a missing persons report. Tom called Alexis's mother, Stacy, to tell her that Alexis was missing and that he hadn't heard from her since Friday. Just prior to this, around 8 a.m. that same day, Public Works employees spotted feet in the bushes in the 1000 block of Red Haw near the Katy Freeway. The unclothed body of Alexis Sharkey was found with no visible wounds. Authorities believe her body had been there overnight. An autopsy is pending and the cause of death is unknown at this time.
Hit the red button.
Why?
Hit the red button now.
I don't want to. I don't record.
Hit the red button.
Sarah!
I'm recording.
Sarah! Sarah! Dad's a pervert.
Yes, sir. Give me the camera now. And you're still recording. And Lissa is stupid moron.
Many people from this party said that they saw Kanika drinking a lot. Kanika was seen in many Instagram and Snapchat stories as well. Around 3 a.m, Kanika and her friends decide to call it a night and they leave the party. They walk towards an elevator. When they get to the elevator, Kanika tells her friends that she forgot her phone and her car keys at the party. Her friends all decide to leave Kanika waiting at the elevator as they go back to get her belongings. When they got back to the elevator, Kanika was gone. Her friends ended up looking all over the hotel for her, but they did not find her anywhere. Kanika's friends end up driving to Kanika's house to tell her mum Teresa what happened. Teresa drives back to the hotel with the girls. Teresa asked a receptionist if she could see the CCTV footage to see where her daughter could have gone, and the receptionist said no. Teresa looked through the hotel for her daughter. She could not find her, so she called the police. Someone asked me to cover this case, and that's what I'm going to do right now. This is the case of Jasmine Richardson, also known as the Richardson family murders. On the 23rd of April 2006, the Richardsons were found slaughtered in their home. Mark, who was 42, Deborah, who was 48, and their young son Tyler, who was only 8 years old. Mark and Deborah's daughter Jasmine was not found at the scene. At first, the police believed that she had been kidnapped. The police looked everywhere for Jasmine. They looked in her bedroom and they could not find her. They went to her school, looked in her locker, and they found something strange. The police found a picture that Jasmine had drawn. It was a picture of her family burning inside a house and herself and her boyfriend outside the house. Jasmine had a 23-year-old boyfriend, and her parents and her friends were not fond of this.
I think my parents are lying to me about my age. When I was about 12, I found this document. It was my baptism sheet, and it was dated before I was born. I confronted my mom about it, and she said that they must have just messed up the date. Then, about a year later, I found another paper saying that my birth date was wrong. It was my preschool forms. How did they get my birth date wrong? And just now I was looking at my camera roll. I was looking at old photos, and I found one. And this is just the icing on the cake. The photo taken from the camera is dated in 2003. I was born in 2005, and I look to be about 1 or 2. Just so you know, this was taken on an OG camera, not a phone, not a computer, a camera. So now I'm really confused, and I don't know what to do. I'm kind of scared to confront my parents about it. Here's a picture of my parents, me and my brother, and this is the picture that was dated wrong. Like, for me to confront them.
John Jones was a husband and a recent father who decided to go cave exploring in the Nutty Putty Cave in Utah. While exploring with some friends, they decided to challenge themselves by passing through a narrow passageway that leads to a larger room, which was called the birth canal. John squeezed through the opening and made his way forward, only to realize that there was no larger opening. The group had missed the birth canal and were now crawling through a passageway that didn't lead to anywhere. John couldn't move forward anymore, and he could no longer turn back on his own. He was stuck upside down, with his hands pinned under him, with only his feet sticking out. Search and rescue came and set up a pulley system because drilling him out was too slow and too painful. But the pulley system could only work if they broke John's legs. After 27 hours stuck inside the cave upside down, John had died of positional asphyxiation. It was too dangerous and difficult to retrieve John's body from the cave, so authorities closed off that section. To this day, John remains wedged inside of the Nutty Buddy Cave.
Now you've seen this viral video. Let me tell you the real story about Isabella Guzman. Isabella, her mom, and her stepfather lived in Colorado. Isabella began to be very rebellious. Her mom caught so many different boys climbing over their backyard fence. She confronted Isabella. Isabella became enraged. That same day, when her mom confronted her, she emailed her and told her that she would pay. The next day, Isabella's mother called Isabella's biological father to come over and have a talk with her. Since her stepfather no longer wanted to talk to her, he had become afraid of her. Isabella's father came over and had a talk with her. He told news reporters that he felt the conversation went well. He thought she might be changing for the better. However, hours later, Isabella's stepfather ran upstairs to the mother's bathroom, where Isabella quickly closed and locked the door. He saw blood coming out from underneath the door, so he called the cops. Isabella had stabbed her mother 151 times and ended
and tan and young and lovely, the girl from Ipanema goes walking, and when she passes, each one she passes.
Hi, I'm Cam, and this is 1 Minute Murder Part 2. On December 1st, 1991, Omaima frantically knocked on her ex-boyfriend Jose's door and explained that her husband had attacked and raped her, forcing her to kill him in self-defense. She begged him to help her dispose of the body, promising him $75,000 and 2 motorcycles for his help. Jose calmed her down and told her to wait for him at her apartment. As soon as she left, Jose called the police. Trigger warning, the details I'm about to go into are very gruesome and brutal. When police arrived on the scene, they walked into what seemed like a nightmare. There were bags of organs in Bill's red Corvette, trash bags filled with pieces of limbs, blood on the bedroom mattress, and a skinned human torso hanging from some clothes hangers in the bathroom. Mama insisted to police that the human remains were the aftermath of a person Bill had killed and that he was away on a business trip in Florida. The story was quickly shot down when they found Bill's head in the freezer wrapped in aluminum foil. Neighbors had told police that they had been hearing Bill's garbage disposal grinding for days. Not only was Bill's head in the freezer, it had burns consistent with having been thrown in a vat of boiling oil. His hands were found in a fryer mixed with turkey bits. Mama told psychologists she had cooked Bill's ribs and dipped them in barbecue sauce. She said that nothing was sweeter than her husband's flesh. 100 pounds of Bill's corpse still remains unaccounted for.
The differences between male and female serial killers. Males typically kill for sexual gratification, whether that's psychological or physical, and their victim's identity matters less. They typically kill strangers. In contrast, 90% of female serial killers know their victims, and they tend to kill for practical or justifiable reasons, at least in their minds, with the most common motivation being financial gain.
What's a piece of information that you learned that feels illegal to know?
That the easiest way to murder someone, to get away with it, is if you take a syringe filled with potassium and inject it under their tongue, it will mimic the symptoms of a heart attack, and the coroner won't be looking, or the medical examiner won't be looking for any injections or anything. They'll just be looking for a cause of death, and they'll see that it was a heart attack, and the wound, under the tongue where you injected it, will have healed by then, but you have to make sure you inject it into the wound so it goes into the bloodstream. But yeah, that's how you get away with murder.
It just doesn't make sense. This case is strange. Joshua Maddox went missing in 2008, and he wasn't found until 2015. When an unused cabin a quarter-mile away from his home was being demolished, his body was found inside the chimney with his knees above his head, and the police ruled it an accidental death, and they said he climbed in from the top and got stuck. But that doesn't explain how he got in the chimney, because there was a metal grate on top of it blocking the entrance, and he couldn't have gone in through the fireplace because there was a heavy breakfast bar that had been ripped out of the wall and pushed in front of it. or why he was only wearing a shirt. All his other clothes were folded up inside the cabin. So he would have had to have been inside the cabin, taken off his clothes, gone outside, climbed up on the roof, and then tried to enter the cabin again through the chimney.